Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another ARPneuro Q&A. My name is Jake. I am your ARPneuro trainer. And with us, as always, bright and early, is Matt Dell. Matt Dell is here to ask the tough questions. Matt, good to see you.
Good to see you, Jake. Loving the T-shirt. Showing off the guns tonight.
We're doing performance. I thought it was necessary.
Okay, well, there's no way I can show off my guns like that, but damn. Maybe I need to start using the PRS a little bit more. If I can get guns like that, I'm in.
We're going to talk about that, and you certainly can. And this is one of my most exciting subjects because, well, it's when you're not injured and you can actually see the real benefits what this can do. But before that, we'll kind of get into some other stuff.
No. Get the slides off. I've got some questions before we even go in there. So since we're talking about performance tonight, I need to find out a little bit. Let everybody know a little bit about Jake. So what is your background? Where did you come from?
I came from, I don't know, a world down under. I was a Chicago suburb, and I basically, I have a strength and conditioning background. So, if we're talking fitness,
let me brag for you. Okay, so you were a wrestler in high school, right? And you were runner-up how many years in a row?
Couple
years in a row.
Yeah.
At what weight class?
I kind of moved around between 130, 152, 160, and then sometimes I bumped up to 189. But I was ideally I was a 171 pounder, but the 189 pounder was a little weaker, so I bumped up occasionally.
And so you go off to wrestle at Michigan State. Is that an accurate story?
Yeah.
And then get injured, if I'm right, correct?
Correct.
Decide to go in the military to serve, which thank you for your service, by the way.
You're welcome.
And then you worked at Northwestern for the football, baseball team. Is that correct? As a strength trainer, and conditioning coach?
Correct.
Okay. So we got a great intro going into the performance. I just wanted the audience to know a little bit about you and your background, so you know a little something about strength and conditioning.
A little bit, yeah. And I started pretty young. My dad had me in when I was probably 12 years old, but it was all about form. It was all about, going slow. And that's kind of the things we're going to be talking about today is, there's a certain background about form and going through the stretch, and it really merges really well with our technology. So,
I love it. Perfect. Well, that was a good intro, Jake. Now people know a little bit about you. I love it. So let's dive in. I'm excited about tonight's, for those that do not know about ARPneuro, I just wanted to kind of share a little bit. You can go to the next slide. The technology that we're going to talk about has been around for 20 plus years, huge success with professional athlete, and really have helped so many people not only perform better, it's helped overcome injuries and, much faster and quicker than traditional physical therapy that you'd go through.
Awesome.
All over the NFLs, all the major sporting leagues and teams, as we've talked about and shared with you in the past, you can probably, conclude that a lot of these professional athletes that are coming back from major injuries sooner than traditional, I would bet a lot of them are utilizing this technology for that recovery.
100%.
So really two products. We've got the RX100 and the PRS, same exact technology. The RX can contract up to 200 or 500 contractions per second. The PRS can go up to 245 contractions. I'm assuming you're going to talk a lot about the performance tonight, utilizing what, the PRS or both products?
Basically both, the science behind it and the technology and what it does. So yeah, definitely both. I'm not going to go into detail on the settings for strength, but essentially just what the technology does.
Awesome. I can't wait. So as we've said, it's all over professional sports. This is Lane Johnson, all-pro lineman for the Eagles. There was an article written last year, and he had a torn groin muscle, and he was able to play through the playoffs and the Super Bowl because of the technology of the RX100. That's him just, I think, in the third game of the season. As a matter of fact, I believe they're playing tonight. So that's, kudos to him. If you have not voted for NFL Man of the Year, throw some votes out to Lane Johnson. He's up
Yeah.
for NFL Man of the Year. So
That's the guy.
Nice little plug. A lot of people ask, Jake, how does this compare to a TENS unit? And go ahead and take that one if you could.
Yeah, and we'll sound like a broken record, but it really is true. We get this question on a daily basis, honestly, with anybody who's new to this. The big one is right on the top. It's the direct current wave. That DC wave is literally the game changer. It's that ability that it works neurologically as opposed to physiologically, which is what you're going to see from all that alternating current. That ability to get to that depth of cellular level not only helps you neurologically retrain that muscle and fire it up, but now you can get into that strength and performance side, which is what we're talking about. So in spite of all the contractions and us, kind of blowing that away when it comes to what the TENS unit compared to what we can do, that cellular level and the direct current is really the game changer.
I love it. Good explanation. So we've got so much going on with, Kaiser and Logan, and you're going to start seeing this more and more. I think we're up to almost 100 clinics or 90 clinics across the country. If you're looking for something local, feel free to visit our website and go under Find a Clinic if you want to go in and get treated with the RX. So many of our clinics are it's all word of mouth and outcomes. So we're having so much success getting treated by a professional.
Correct.
I didn't know this was going to be in there, but I've got a real life story. That was my son's senior year in high school. He broke his leg and put a rod between his knee and his ankle. The orthopedic surgeon said he's basically done for the year. He's not going to play basketball. He worked and did treatments with the technology and basically came back and played the last 5 games of the season, including senior night. And, there's no way he would have been able to do it because he wasn't able to put any weight on the bone as it was healing. This technology allowed him to continue to use his muscles, his calves, and everything so that they were firing and working neurologically like he was running and working out. So when the bone healed, he was ready to go and was able to, fire out some threes and drive the lane and dish and do everything that he was, trained his whole life for in AAU basketball and everything. So saw it firsthand.
That's actually the most detailed I've heard you explain that story since we've been doing it.
Oh, well, I'm on fire tonight, Jake.
I can tell.
Even though you can barely see me because my lighting's horrible and my studio has never been, put together. Hopefully in 2024, our audience will actually be able to see me.
I hear you. And the call is listening. I will be there.
I love it. Okay. It's all good. So again, the technology is neurological, which is the biggest difference, right? It is on the same wavelength that your brain functions, and it helps alleviate pain because it's strengthening muscles to absorb the way they're supposed to absorb. It helps prevent injury, and Jake will be talking about performance tonight. It helps accelerate the natural healing of soft tissue because of that contractions. It helps increase range of motion, and really it just helps re-educate the muscles. And I think you're going to get a deep dive on that and how to utilize your PRS and or the RX for performance tonight from Jake.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of conditions this thing supports. If you have any ailment or any conditions you want information, I highly suggest you go to our website. We've got outcomes and we've got scientific studies. But if there's something you don't have or you want to know how and how to utilize pad placements, info@ARPneuro.com. Please send us what you're looking for, and we'd love to put a video together if it's not already available.
Awesome. And it's already up there. That's how good Sarah is. She's
good. She's listening tonight. I love it. It's all about the outcomes. If you've been using the PRS, if you're on tonight, or if you're listening to this later and you've been taking advantage of this technology, we'd love to hear from you. There's a very simple, takes about 5 minutes, a video that we can send you to, do a testimonial so we can add it to our website.
I love it. All right. We're on it.
Without further ado,
let's get into the performance side. I know we do a lot of the things on injury. It's funny. I just want to bring this up, David. This couldn't have come at a better time. Now that my PRS has healed my shoulder, I'm ready to strengthen shoulders and guns. That's awesome. I can't wait for you to do that. Now there's a lot that goes along with this, and I'm going to incorporate the science behind, strength training, hypertrophy, and what that does in comparison also with what you can do with what I would like to call this RX or the PRS, your external brain. And that's really what this is going to be helpful on the performance side. Whether you're an athlete, you don't have to be a football player, a hockey player, basketball player, baseball, soccer, and a runner, as you can see on there. You just have to be someone who is eager to get into better shape, eager to have a better life, eager to be stronger and feel more confident as you're walking, where it supports your joints. So it's literally just about taking this and using it to the best ability so you don't get injured again. And I think people get this idea that once the PRS fixes something, you could put it on the counter and not think about it anymore. And the same is true with the RX. The technology in general should be a part of your life, along with just any type of working out in general. First thing I want to talk about is something I like to call neuro gains. And essentially, it's building strength. It begins with the brain. Now, all that verbiage down there, it's going to be hard to read, not a big deal. You don't have to read it. Essentially, what we're going through is that, in the first 4 to 6 weeks, what happens is when you first start to work out, you go through these new patterns. Your brain is learning how to go through these movements. So you're actually looking for the cells. Your brain is trying to find those cells to recruit the right areas to be able to perform these movements successfully. So what happens is if someone's a newbie so much in the gym or working out, they get what's called newbie gains. And a lot of that has to do in the beginning with your brain neurologically reconnecting as you're trying to develop a coordination to run through these new patterns. So you're already getting some sort of neurological reset just by fitness alone. That being said, then there's that second increase of those newbie gains that first it was neurological. Now it's that reset of, okay, once everything catches up, now your muscles start to catch up and now you start to build muscle the normal way. So in the beginning, it's a lot of that neurological reset. Now, I said all that to say this. Imagine going back after you're injured and now you're no longer injured. You got recovered. Now you go back into doing whatever the workout is. You incorporate lightweight with this technology. Now, again, we just got done saying this is direct current. It runs neurologically and it's basically harmonious with the way your brain contracts a muscle. We say this a lot. Your brain contracts a muscle between 2 and 20, 25 times per second, depending on what we're talking about here. But that's the max. This machine will contract it at 245 times per second, up to 500 times per second if you're using the larger RX unit. Now, the reason why that's important is on a DC current, and we're going to get into on the neurological side, also the way it's able to contract on the eccentric movement. And that's the next one I want to talk about. Maximizing hypertrophy, something I like to call the loaded stretch. Now, again, matching this technology with what you can do with the science behind working out. There's been a lot of studies, one in particular back in 2019, I believe, or it was a couple years ago by the National Library of Medicine. They came up with a large study of maximizing muscle with hypertrophy. And what they found was lighter or moderate weight does just as well, and sometimes even better than heavier weight in building hypertrophy. It's interesting.
Jake, let me interrupt you for a second. Just give me the basic definition of hypertrophy.
Hypertrophy. Yeah. So think of hypertrophy as building the muscle or building the cells or tissue or the organs in the body. And that's a great question because I say it a lot. There's a major difference between hypertrophy and strength. Strength is essentially increasing the ability of a muscle to produce force. Now, you can get strong from both of them, and there's benefits of doing strength training. There's benefits of doing hypertrophy. So let me break that down briefly. Strength training would consist of, if I were strength training an athlete, I would run between 2 to 5 reps, and then we'd run multiple sets within that. Hypertrophy kind of starts at about 5 reps and it goes into almost as many as 30 reps. So the reps itself kind of help build that muscle as opposed to the lower reps, which kind of build the strength. And then there's kind of a happy medium where you sort of get both, but there is a difference and both are good. One's not better than the other. It truly depends on, what you're trying to perform. If you're an athlete, you're probably more looking into the strength aspect. However, if you're a lineman, you probably want to get a little hypertrophy in there as well to gain some size so you can kind of hold your own. If you're a bodybuilder, obviously they're looking at predominantly hypertrophy.
Got it.
So yeah, great question. And essentially what that study was kind of going over was hypertrophy worked on lighter weights. And what they also discovered was there was more increase in strength, more growth in the muscle, and also rehabilitation in the eccentric contractions, or that stretch. I call it the loaded stretch. And essentially to think about that is when you look at someone in the gym and they're doing a basic arm curl, this is the contraction. And then as you're going down, that's the eccentric. And the ultimate stretch is when it's at that full range of motion. You really want to emphasize that full range of motion. And that's truly what they're starting to find. And numerous studies support this. The majority of that muscle build and hypertrophy is going to be during this stretch. The reason why that's important is a lot of times people will avoid that stretch and you'll see kind of this. And they're literally losing a lot of this open area where you're getting most of that benefit is that loaded stretch. Again, let me backpedal now. Why did I say all that? Again, you can use this technology to your advantage by using lighter weight and truly focusing on that ability to open up that stretch, whether it's with a curl, whether it's with a squat or a bench press where you're opening up your chest. Any of these are going to help build muscle without having to use a lot of heavy weight. Now, I would argue in the gym, even without the technology, you wouldn't have to use a lot of heavy weight. However, imagine if you had lightweight and now you have a machine where you're essentially putting zero pressure on your joints and you can increase that output power as if you were using heavy weight, but now you're not taking the beating on your joints and breaking your joints up. So now your recovery is going to be a lot faster. Your stretch is going to be a lot better because it's on a direct current wave where you can get that eccentric. And of course, when you recover from that, you're going to get a greater muscle growth on top of that.
Great, Jake. That's such a great explanation. I mean, it makes sense when you go back, and I'm glad the slide in there was, for my son, obviously keeping and building that muscle on his leg when he had zero weight. I mean, he was building that muscle as if he's running or working out hard, doing sprints, but he was literally walking across an office.
Yeah.
And so he continued to build that muscle while the bone was healing without any pressure or stress necessary on the bone.
Correct. It's kind of a myth that you have to go really fast in a lot of things to be fast.
Right.
That's especially when you're working with weight. I'll have a video at the end. You'll see some of those movements. I don't necessarily endorse some of these movements where it's fast. They think they're building fast twitch. That's kind of a weak argument. There's not been any real deep studies that have proven that to work. However, you can actually get a good force load on going on a slower eccentric or lowering down of the weight and an athletic movement up. I call it athletic. You can go up faster on the contraction, whether it's a curl or a squat. I'm doing curl since we're sitting down. But that slower movement into the stretch is what I really love. Now, using the machine to your advantage, if you're thinking about, well, how can I use that? How can I use the PRS? Well, when I first started using this for strength training, and I will say I worked out with it for an entire year without using weight. Originally, I used to just place the pads and just hold it. And it was sort of like at a neutral position. Recently, I've discovered that holding the eccentric position more often is a lot more beneficial than actually going through a movement, because now you actually get those full contractions at that full stretch. So you almost are better to just kind of hold that in that position. Same thing with a squat, kind of maybe lower that eccentric a lot slower and kind of holding that harder point. Or in some cases, just go through a stretch while increasing that output power. You'll be surprised on how much stronger you'll get from that. And there's been proof to kind of support that. And we have a few athletes I want to show afterwards when we get through with all this.
I love it, Jake. I'm kind of a dinosaur here, but it's amazing how things have changed where, growing up playing football, lifting, it was all about heavy weights and that's going to build muscle. And now you're starting to see that in the gym. You're starting to see that it's really about lighter weights and great form so that you're not causing compensatory issues. Did I say that right?
Compensatory, you did.
Oh man, look at, I'm starting to sound smart. Compensatory issues where your compensation is going to cause an injury. And it's starting to make sense how you can now take advantage of the PRS and this technology so that you're minimizing the stress on your joints and maximizing and increasing those strengths. As a matter of fact, I was just in a gym and one of the latest machines that I saw was they wanted to make sure that you were getting that eccentric contraction all the way through. So it's almost like a game where they wanted you to keep that pressure throughout the entire lift to make sure you're maximizing that eccentric contraction.
Yeah, it's becoming kind of the new way to train. There's called loaded training, where a lot of it is just going to be on that eccentric portion or that stretch portion where you're spending more time with that stretch. To your point with the strength portion, one of the things I thought about when you said that was there are going to be certain athletes that will have to maintain heavy weight. Something I was thinking like a power lifter. But, you did mention with this technology, it really is true. Power lifters have no choice. They have to train with heavy weight. It's the only way they're going to be able to perform that lift when they get into their competition. However, they can reduce that weight tremendously by using this technology and still go through those movements. So again, they're not cracking up their joints with a lot of that heavy weight, and they're saving it with still getting a lot of that strength build up with this technology.
Yeah, that reminds me of one of our PRS users who was, I think, a professional bodybuilder, correct? I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but she was, I think we did a Q&A, maybe we didn't. I know we talked with her, and she swears by the PRS because of injury prevention, so she can maximize her look for her competitions without jeopardizing any damage to any of the joints. Great story. Did we do a Q&A with her or?
You know what? I don't believe we ever had her on a Q&A. She was a fitness model. She did fitness competitions.
Yes.
And she still to this day, she uses the PRS and the RX. I believe she goes into the Chicago office and they work with her with certain settings that
we should absolutely try to get her on a Q&A after this. I'm excited about the performance side. So
awesome. I love it. You're pumping me up by hearing you say that. Okay. I've got a question here. They should have competitions on how high you can go get the RX. That would be interesting. It's there used to be a flex, so to speak, on how fast people can get to 100. I try not to talk about that a lot because I think that the intensity is really up to you. I consider it sort of a weight load, and if you are getting compensations and you're not able to control the form, there's no reason to go higher. I will say, however, on the performance side, you'd be surprised on how high you can get that machine. And if you're healthy, it is pretty fun to go pretty high. So that would be pretty interesting. Good comment. We'll go into this in a minute, but we do have some of these with the PRS. These are basic at-home ARPneuro workouts. I'm not sure if people are really aware of it. I've done about 7 of them. In the past, I did hundreds of them. These will come back eventually. I froze them for a while, but as I was going through this, I started looking at this and I was like, there's a lot of new things I want to kind of produce within this. So I'd be interested on your comments on what you guys would want to see down the road with this. But yeah, there are ARPneuro workouts you can do, whether it's with the PRS. If some of you athletes have the RX, you can use the same thing and just get different results with that.
And how can we get to those workouts? Where can you find them?
That one's actually on our secondary YouTube channel. And of course, Sarah was all ready for it. It's YouTube / @ARPneuro PRS. And you'll see those up there. So it's
Good.
it's different than our main YouTube channel, but I do believe it's also linked to our website as well. And that being said, just before we get into some of the other things I want to talk about with the athletes, if you still have a PRS or you're still wondering how to operate a PRS, it's very simple. Go to our website. And as you can see here, when it goes, you go into the PRS drop down, and it's just how to use my PRS. And then you can pull up all these different things, these protocols that will show you how to fix certain pains. So then you can use it for the performance. And again, I can't stress enough that the performance side is literally it is your lifestyle at that point, because you don't want to go back to the injuries. And there is something empowering by strengthening your muscles to the point where your joints no longer hurt. And there was nothing more rewarding when I used to train people, and even these days training athletes, and they're at the elite level, and they still say this, that how much better they feel and how much stronger than they feel than when they first started. I had an athlete recently tell me this is the strongest his legs have ever felt in his life, and he feels like this is going to be his best season coming up. So pretty excited to see, how that transpires.
Well, and I loved, we were just on a call a couple hours ago with an NFL player with his PRS, and kudos to you, Jake, because it was the first web session training with this particular athlete who has both experience with the RX and the PRS. But I love that he actually went to our website, learned how to use the PRS on it. I believe it was a shoulder injury, and and it was comforting to know that, you got guys out there and it's easy enough to just go to our website and learn where and how to take advantage of the PRS and pad placement. So kudos to you on that one. Very excited to hear that feedback from that particular player.
Yeah, absolutely. He's going to be a fun one. He's a big guy, so I don't want to make him mad.
Yeah, but exactly. Good stuff.
But he was nice to me, so luckily I don't have to meet him on the field.
I like it.
And I'm going to take this off for a second, and I just want to go over a few little things. This is people using the PRS. Let me pause that for a second. I don't know if I can do that really. All right. So let me go back here. You may recognize this guy, Mike Tyson. He used this during when he was getting ready to go out and box. He's still laying guys out. He used this. He, saves on his joints. As you can see, he's not using heavy weight. Here's an athlete. If you remember this guy, this is Trevor Harris. He plays for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He's the quarterback there. He had a tibial plateau break. Now that was a little over 3 months ago. And if you saw him before, he was limping. Now look at his speed. It's finally coming back. And he's the individual I was saying his legs are stronger than they've ever been.
Wow.
I can't wait to see his speed. I asked him, I said, what do you think your speed is right now? He's like, it's about 90%. And he thinks he'll be able to add another 10% of speed on top of his career. So
love it.
Pretty awesome. He's got what is in his hand is not a football. It's actually an RX. He's in Jamaica, but still his work ethic is there. He doesn't stop. It's not just him though, as we continue on. This is another one, baseball player. He's using lightweight. Again, I don't really endorse what he was doing, fast twitch, but now I can't explain any of these people. I don't know who they are.
You flew right by the professional tennis player.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's how fast
Tennis
she is.
I know.
We'll get to her. We'll get to her again. Did I skip her?
No.
Yeah, there she is. Right. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Super fast. And again, she's not injured. She's using it strictly for training, trying to build the performance side of it. And it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, there's going to be some benefit to it. And as somebody who truly wants you to see your health, protect your joints, be happier, healthier, be able to walk with your shoulders back, your chest out, your chin up with confidence, nothing does that better than building strength. And nothing builds health better than doing some sort of resistance training. In my opinion, strength training is the best you can do on top of with hypertrophy. And you can't do better with technology like this that's protecting on your joints. It's just that much better. And the fact that it can work with you neurologically, retraining the muscles. increasing range of motion while you're going through these movements. You're getting therapy as well as you're getting mental therapy. You're getting physical build, and you're just becoming a better person overall. Trust me, you will walk out of that gym with a better attitude.
Yeah, I'd be lying if Jake, I would be lying if I didn't say how, blessed we are, and how excited it has been for me to walk into some of our clinics that all they use is, or they use the RX and the PRS to train professional athletes and weekend warriors, and to see these, athletes that are, their bodies and their performance is their livelihood. To see them take advantage of this on the performance side has been enlightening, to say the least. Yeah. Obviously, on the recovery of injuries, kind of a no-brainer, but to see them kind of go from that, or not even recovering from injuries, and using this technology for performance-based enhancements is incredible. As a matter of fact, even, talking to one of the players that you and I did a training session for, even this NFL player who's been in the league, I don't know how long, but he's blown away that not everybody is using this on a regular basis. So
those were his words. Yeah.
Yeah. Great stuff. Is that concluding our 30 minutes?
It's 30 minutes.
That's impressive.
I cut out 4 slides because I have a part 2, but I thought it was too much. Yeah. And I didn't want to get too into detail and then run out of time. So this will come back. There's more to this. There are going to be some techniques I've been using, some things I've learned over the course of the last 12 months since I've used it. I'm still a big fan. Those of you who know the RX, I'm still a big fan of the 40 pulses per second. I've changed the way you kind of run that pulse frequency. We'll get into that down the road, but yeah, it's been pretty awesome. Love it.
I think, Jake, at the end of the day, this 30-minute session, just by showing off those guns was worth the 30-minute session without question. I love it.
I appreciate it. And
next time we do performance, you've got to be in a t-shirt, cut off t-shirt, so we can see the entire guns and shoulders. But
I always said you can't trust a banker who's bankrupt. So I can't talk strength if I don't use it myself, which I do, and I don't have some knowledge of building muscle as well. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Oh, great stuff tonight. Appreciate it. Hope everybody got some benefits out of it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. info@arpneuro.com. Would love to help you out. Sarah's, as usual, right on the spot. So Jake, great session. Very insightful.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Good to see you again, and we'll see you next time.
Take care. Bye-bye.